Okay, so I mentioned in my last tarot video about my favorite tarot deck so far that I should probably do a video about the very first tarot deck that I ever purchased. So, this right here is the Mythic Tarot. You can see it is by Juliet Sharman Burke and Liz Green, cards illustrated by Tricia Newell. This is the original Mythic Tarot. I think that there is a new Mythic Tarot that has been released in recent years. When I say recent years, I mean the last 20 years, because I remember I purchased this tarot deck in I couldn't have been any older than 16. So this would have been like 2003, 2004. Like it was a while ago. And I no longer have the box that it came in, because the box that it came in was just like like the cellophane tray type thing, like the clear plastic tray, and then like a cardboard box that held it, and all it was the tarot deck inside there. The book was in its own little space, and then actually this cloth here actually came with this deck. I turned it over and used the back of it as a kind of a backdrop for the last video, but this is the deck that it actually came with. And you can kind of see that it's actually got marked out for where the cards should go for doing like a Celtic cross spread, that sort of thing. So that was pretty neat. But yeah, I was like I said, I'm pretty sure I drove myself to the store to get this. So I would have had to have been at least 16. But I'm pretty sure I bought this out of the back of a Sam Goody store, if anybody is old enough to remember what Sam Goody was. But it was basically it was a store where you could buy music, like CDs and even cassette tapes at the time. You could buy like T-shirts and memorabilia for like various things. Like South Park was huge at the time, so you could buy a lot of South Park like tchotchkes and stuff. Band T-shirts, band posters, stuff like wristbands. But there was also a section where you could buy books. So they had a few books, usually related to like music. So it'd be like band biographies, or but sometimes they had weirder stuff in the store. And I remember in this particular store that we had, you could go to the very back right corner, and they had like an area that was like one bookshelf and then a few other things, and it was just like witchcraft books, and it was mostly stuff that Llewellyn Worldwide published, which at the time was like, I mean, they still are a huge publisher, but at the time that was like the most accessible publisher, because those, like everything else, you had to really know, like you had to go to like a real bookstore to find, or you had to like know what you were even looking for in order to try to order it off of like Amazon, back when Amazon only sold books. So it was quite the miracle that I was able to even come across a place that sold tarot decks and sold books related to this type of stuff. But yeah, anyway, so this was the very first tarot deck that I bought. It appealed to me because it's all based on Greek and Roman myth. And I was a huge nerd for Greek and Roman mythology pretty much most of my life, even from elementary school on. So it was very easy for me to pick up and know what the cards meant, because all of these cards here, so like the trump cards, they're not in order right now, but looking at them, like all of them are based off of like a mythological figure. So like the magician obviously is Hermes, right? The sun is Apollo. Judgment is looks like Hermes as his psychopomp aspect. Persephone's the high priestess. Prometheus is the Hanged Man. So I mean, every single one of the trump cards, the major arcana, they're related to like a prominent mythological figure or a myth that is pretty easy to, like, if you know Greek or Roman mythology, like, you know what it is just at kind of a glance of it. There are only a few of them that are really like minor-ish characters, I would say. And then similarly, all of the suits are a specific like myth in itself. So and it tells you in the book here. Like in the book, it has like, it breaks down every one of the major arcana, the myth behind it, and then like the deeper meanings of the card. But then, like, for example, here in the Suit of Cups, the Suit of Cups is entirely the legend of Eros and Psyche, right? So I'm a little rusty on that particular myth, but everything in the Suit of Cups here is related to that myth. So if you know that myth, even if you just read it in the book, you could at a glance kind of figure out what the meaning of each card was, because it's sequential, like it follows that story of these lovers. So it appealed to me, this deck did, because it was so accessible, because like I said, each suit is one specific myth, and then the major arcana, those are all like a mythological character or a myth kind of contained within one card. So it's sort of like the whole premise of like tarot in general, going back to like Rider-Waite, but in a way that is was more accessible for me, because I did not know a lot about tarot at the time. I just knew that it was a way, like a special card deck that you did divination with. That was all I knew about it. I didn't know that there was a such thing as a Rider-Waite-Smith deck that all of these other decks were pretty much based on. I didn't know anything about that. This was my very first exposure to tarot, other than like what the definition of it was. But this was also the deck that helped me learn that I'm not really a big tarot person. Like, I don't really have the time or interest to lay out a Celtic cross spread and then go through all of that anytime like I have a question or an issue come up. I'm more of a 3-card spread guy, like I said in my last video on tarot. I'm not knocking it. I'm sure, like, obviously it's popular. Like, lots of people do it. It works for lots of people. It's just I just haven't really been able to find a way to fit it into my practice into a way that it doesn't feel burdensome. It doesn't feel like a chore. Like, it's much easier for me to just pull 3 cards if it's a big issue, or just pull 1 card if I just want a little bit of insight. But I'm not a huge like Celtic cross, like 10-card, 12-card spread kind of guy. But if you are, then I mean, this is excellent, because you have this nice little cloth here that has the layout for all of the cards, and I believe it in the book somewhere. It might be toward the back. Yeah, so it actually gives you the spread, and with like a diagram of what everything means, and then like sort of instructs you on how to read it, and then gives you some example spreads. So this was a pretty good introduction to tarot for somebody that had no exposure to it other than just like generalized knowing what it was. Especially someone like me who had grown up reading Greek and Roman myth and kind of resonated with it a lot. Like the whole thing with tarot is it's all archetypes, right? So that's essentially what myths are. They're archetypes, or fables, cautionary tales, sort of like life lessons that are distilled into like into an enjoyable story, something that's entertaining to listen to or to read or to watch. And so you get the same sort of like effect with this deck of having like, you know, the core archetypes of tarot, but in a way that like you're not picking up the guidebook as much to figure out what this card means, because, like, for example, I pull the star here. This is obviously Pandora's box. Like, you can tell just by looking at the art. It's a young woman opening a box, and there's a bunch of, like, bugs and stuff coming out. And at a glance, you just know what it is. So you can, knowing the story of Pandora and Pandora's box, you can very easily sort of put together what that card means. Now, you're still going to need some help with, like, where it falls in the layout and all that. But that's what the guidebook's for. Or if you've used any other tarot deck ever before, like, you'll know how to do it. Nothing really changes with this deck, other than I think it's a little bit easier to read than if you were to just pick up a Rider-Waite-Smith deck and just, like, read the little guidebook. You're going to be stumbling around for a while trying to figure out what to do. If you come to this with already having a decent foundation in knowing Greek and Roman myth, it's pretty easy to once you learn a basic spread and what all the card positions mean, it's pretty easy to go from there, just based off of your knowledge of what the myths are that this deck represents. So, yeah, this was my very first tarot deck. As you can tell by the condition of the cards, I did not, even in my heyday of tarot, use this deck very much. I mean, it's not what I would call mint, but it's in very good condition because it hasn't been handled a lot. Even despite the fact that it doesn't have like a cardboard overbox or anything. I usually just keep it wrapped up in this cloth on a shelf. But good quality. The art is fantastic. I have no experience with the new Mythic Tarot. I don't even know if it's related to this one at all, other than the name. But I've seen it in stores and in stalls when I go to like conventions and stuff for this sort of thing. I see something called the New Mythic Tarot. So I don't know if that's just like a revised edition. I don't know if it's even related to this at all, but maybe someone of you guys likes that deck can tell me what the difference is, if there is any. Maybe it's just an update of the art or something. But I'm a little behind the loop on, or a little behind the curve on, out of the loop behind the curve on these sort of like revised editions that get put out every now and then of stuff. Like, for example, this is unrelated to tarot, but like Astral Dynamics by Robert Bruce. Fantastic book. It's like, it could be the college textbook of astral projection. But I know that there's a revised edition. I've not read the newest new edition. I still have an old one from, again, almost 20 years ago. But it's one of those things I drifted away from. So I'm like, well, why bother getting the revised edition if I'm not even that interested in the subject matter anymore? So yeah, that was a little bit of a tangent, but yeah, this is a good deck. It is what I started with. It is what taught me tarot. It is what taught me that I am not a big tarot person. But it is very approachable for beginners, newcomers, as long as you have a little bit of background with mythology, which I imagine that if you were interested in tarot or occultism or neo-paganism, witchcraft, Wicca, that sort of thing, you would have at least dipped your toes into mythology at some point, because it's a huge part of the symbolism of pretty much all the things that I previously rattled off. So yeah, if you see this one, and the subject appeals to you, the art appeals to you, pick it up. If you know the difference between the Mythic Tarot and the New Mythic Tarot, maybe the New Mythic Tarot is better, or maybe it's just a re-release with like the art's more colorful. I don't really know. I imagine that if it's made by the same people, I don't know that it is, but if it is made by the same people, it's probably just as good as this one. I don't know if this one is even still in print anymore, but I thought I would dig it out and show it to you guys, since I mentioned in my my video about the Gothic Tarot of the Vampires, that it might be cool to get out the very first tarot deck that I ever purchased. That said, it might be cool to just get out all of the decks that I have and just kind of like put them out there, because I think I'm up to like 7 or 8 now. Like I even have a tarot deck that was a Dishonored theme. The video game, back when it was just a video game, the video game Dishonored, I remember that was a pre-order reward for the very first game. You got a deck of cards. They call it a deck of tarot cards, but there's like a whole like a game that you can play with it aside from just like doing tarot readings with it. That might be cool to get out and show, because I don't know how widespread that deck is, because it was a pre-order bonus for like a physical copy of a video game back when people still did that. So yeah, that's from like 2012. So I mean, a decent time ago. So that might be cool to get out. If you guys want to see any of these other decks that I have, like the Dishonored deck, I have a deck that I bought when I was in Italy that I don't think I've even taken the shrink wrap off of. I opened the overbox because it's got a cool little like plastic like box that it fits into. But I don't think I even took the shrink wrap off of it. I know I've never actually used it. So that one might be cool to get out and actually look at in a video. I have a couple of other cool things that might be worth doing a video on. But if you guys are interested in, if you're interested in seeing that Dishonored tarot or seeing that tarot that I got in Italy, let me know in the comments, because I mean that if there's interest in it, I'll get it out and we can go through it, because these are things that like I put on a shelf somewhere in a drawer somewhere and I just forget about them for years. But if there's interest in seeing them, I'll get them out and we can kind of look at them and discuss. Because even if you're not big into actually reading tarot and divining tarot, like I'm not really big into it, I still appreciate the art and the beauty that goes into producing a deck, like well, any deck really. I think that they're pieces of art that are worth admiring, even if you don't use them for any sort of occult or mystical purpose. But yeah, if you guys are interested in seeing that, let me know. If you made it this long, thank you for listening to me ramble on and on. And I have more stuff like this on the channel. So if you like this, please subscribe. So yeah, until next time, take it easy, everyone.